Good day, everybody. It's Friday. Woohoo! Um, the I was just watching a thing on Facebook where I think his name's James O'Keefe or something like that. Um, he used to be the owner of Project Veritop, I think, but they booted him out. But anyway, he's still doing what he does, right? And so that COVID, okay, he was secretly recording this guy that worked for them, telling how they were mutating each strand. So remember when I was telling you, which was kind of interesting because the COVID, okay, that is the conductor. C is right here for Christ. I, the O right here, right, our third eye. And then you got BI, which represents the sixth light. Um, and D is that pyramid that shows on, remember on iPad Go 2, you got that pyramid. It's like the top of a house, kind of like representation too, or a barn, um, a big red barn, something like that type of thing. Because that's where the rooster sits, that's Christ, he sits on top of the barn, that kind of symbolism too. Because remember, in our world, there's all different types of symbolism for the same thing. So, remember, Omnicron is the 15th letter in Greek, right? Um, O, Omnicron, is O micron. Micron is small. Macron is the system, the bigger system. We are the micron to the macron. And then the O, micron. And then you got, what was the other? There was another, and then you got 1 plus 5 is 6. So you got the 5 senses, the dog senses, and you got the 1 cat sense. There's so much symbolism here. Okay, so while I was sitting here thinking about, how I was telling you about our left brain, this is my left side. My left brain is the lymphatic system. This is my dragon brain right down the center of me. So when you think of dragons um, um, hold the light of the sun. So, and this is what the candlestick is. This is where the chakra system is, right? So, this is where the arm of God is at. And then our right brain is our emotional brain, which is, kind of like connected to our heart. But what we need to do is get them both connected to our center conductor and connect to our heart as one. So it's like bringing the red and blue pillar into the white pillar as one. And I do believe it turns to purple rain. Okay. I was sitting here thinking about the DNA strand and how they're mutating all these strands and stuff. And when there's a lot of birdies out today, a lot of baby birds. I don't know if you can see them or not. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully you got to see all those little baby birds. So remember when Moses confronted the Pharaoh, and he took his staff. I'm kind of bundled up today. He took his staff, and I think he laid his staff down, and the other two that were next to the Pharaoh, there's one on his right and one on his left that had staffs too, and I think they were the high priest for the Pharaoh. But anyway, Moses, his staff, ate up the one on the right and the one on the left, their staff. So I was sitting there thinking, I was like, oh, the staff is, because remember, his staff turned into a snake and their staffs turned into a snake. So here's Moses and his staff eats both those snakes. So now his staff is big, right? So now he's walking around with the big stick. Now this is very interesting that come to my mind. I was like thinking, oh, so what Moses did, somehow he obtained the DNA from both of those two, and I don't know if those are considered the two witnesses. The two witnesses as being the two, the it has to do with DNA, or it could represent the right brain, left brain, and Moses being the dragon in the middle, the light, because he was the light of God. So, he wrote all 8 books, and he wrote the Torah. So it's like, when it was coming to my mind, I thought, I think I'm going to make a quick video about this and see if that rings a bell to anybody and see if they can kind of see. Because, so when we look at the tree of life, it's the tree of life is the dragon. This goes down to our spine, into our mind's eye. Left brain is the lymphatic system that comes down and it goes around our down by our spine. It's the lymphatic. It's like a tail that goes around. So that's why the serpent is considered negative, is because it's on our left brain. That wickedness, right? That kind of thing. But the thing about the wickedness is our DNA. Like me, I'll take me for instance. When I was born into this world, I have my mother's DNA and I have my father's DNA. So I have 72,000 of my father's Y chromosomes from his right side, and I have 72,000 of my mom's left side chromosome, the X chromosome. So I'm Y and X. I'm bi. I'm 2 chromosomes. Bi means 2. Bisexual, that's what I am. That's what men are. Because women have XX. They don't have the Y chromosome. That's why I think at this time, that's why they're, when Michael Obama went into office, remember, for 8 years, he went in and changed the whole school system. And then here, 6 or 7, 8 years later, you have this huge movement. You have the exposing of the children's books, right? Showing boys on boys and stuff like that in these reading books in the libraries. It's like they spent all that time changing and creating, taking guys away from who they really are. So, when guys say, I don't feel like I'm in the right body, I'm a woman. I know that. When I was grown up, ever since I was a little child, I think I told you guys a story. I stood in front of the mirror it was like we had a trailer, and my mom went and drew the bath water. I think I was about 9 years old. And I pulled out it had like one of those big vanity bathroom 2 double sinks. And in the middle row is these drawers. So I pulled out these drawers so I can climb up on these drawers and stand up to where I can look in the mirror at my body. And I remembered looking at my body going, God, where's my boobs? God, how come I have this? God, what's going on? When you're at that, we've all went through it, when we go through a phase of trying to understand our body and trying to understand our mind and how we think that we're in the wrong body, but we're not in the wrong body. Okay, so it's, I've been looking at this all my life, trying to figure out and ask God, why? And then here I'm at this point where, finally it's being revealed. And I think it's because I had to experience life. I had to research. I had to have the will to discover these things. I had to not give up And that's the thing I think about God, is that if you're constantly working every day, if you're constantly trying to improve yourself, if you're constantly talking to God every day, if you're constantly lighting up your candlestick, um, and because it's always thumping. For me, I can always feel the thump. I can actually feel it right now. Well, yeah, besides me tapping on it, but um, it's like at will, right? I can sit here and daydream out here and look at the birds and everything, and then all of a sudden my third eye is just like, I can feel it. In a way, it's kind of relaxing because you just sit there and absorb, and everything is beautiful. Could you just get that vibe at one with nature, and that's who we are, or kind of created that way with the system. But I wanted to mention that real quick about how, because it come to my mind about the two DNAs. So if Moses, so we've got Christ down the middle of us, and we're born as a Christ mass, because remember, the first 12 weeks, we are born as a female. Everybody is born as a female, the X gene. The X gene is the serpent snake. That's why everybody has nipples. And then you've got, by the 12th week, you got the SRY chromosome, which, determine if it kicks in, then that's when it becomes a male. So XY. And I think that's the point that I can't get across to people, is that they refuse to see that men are bi. They refuse to see that even the people that go, duh, there's only two, they'll even tell you there's only two types. There's XY and XX, but they don't even understand what the XY is. Because when you tell them that they're bi, they get all defensive. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not that way. Or this is because of this world, how they program about being gay or bi, and how they put it down and everything. So again, this is the land of the shadow of death, and we've got to be able to discover and find the truth compared to what we're being told down here. Because another thing about this Palestine and Israel thing, not only has America funded the money to start all this stuff, which is quite interesting, right? Especially when certain people's laptops and stuff like that are coming out, proof is coming out. It's like, let's start a war, start something. Let's have the American taxpayers pay for it. So you got Palestine and Israel fighting over there, and now they brought it over here to the land of the free, the land of peace, right? So now America is no more land of peace. They tried to stir it up with the COVID. They tried to get unrest with the black and white, black against white, these reparations are right, to where they should get like $5 or $6 or $1,000 a month, but none of them had went through that. None of them have went through slavery. So they want to be credited for their ancestors, but then a lot of their ancestors were not slaves. So it's quite interesting when you think about it. They just look at the color of their skin and say, oh, I should get this. Well, yeah, right. No, you shouldn't. We shouldn't have to pay for past history events in another timeline. We shouldn't have to be looking back then and bringing that back into our future. I mean, how do you expect to evolve and go forward and have new things and go into a golden age when you're constantly living in the past, or living somebody else's past, living your ancestors' past, when that's their past? It's not your past. And I guess that's another reason why the serpent snake is evil, is because it turns around and bites them in the butt, because they can't understand their DNA. So is it really evil? Well, yeah, because now you see everybody out there, just like I was saying, so if they start giving these this money out to these people, they're already out having a bunch of children and not taking care of them. So could you imagine every child getting a big check from the government? We'd be broke. So this is what I was saying. It's all about dividing the people, and the people got to be smart enough not to chase the money. And that's what it is. You offer them money, the evil goes for the money. That's why Jesus said, give everything away and walk with Jesus. And that's why I was telling you about Trump, how everybody's like, oh, Trump is like Jesus. He's like God, he's this and that. But, oh, yeah, right. He lives in a palace of gold. He eats off gold. And Jesus never did any of that. So this is where I'm saying how the people cannot even see, or they've created their own gods in their own mind of what God is. And I think that's, or the kingdom of God, where God's kingdom is. It's just like they were talking about heaven. And I was like, someone wrote a post about, how they're looking up at the stars and stuff. And they said, well, if that's the bottom of heaven, imagine what the top of heaven looks like. And I put in a comment in there saying, but what if heaven is a state of, what did I write? What if heaven is a state of mind? That's what I wrote. What if heaven is just a state of mind? Be considering everything that we're experiencing in this world is from the state of our mind. I don't know, pretty interesting stuff. But anyway, so what do you think about Moses, his serpent snake, eating up the other two staffs of the other two high priests? So it's like saying, taking in their DNA. So I wonder, because there's another genome called X or YY or XYY. So it's two males and a female gene. And it's called Jacob's syndrome. It's very interesting. When they first found out about Jacob's syndrome, they thought these people were just like loony or whatever, so they were locking them up. Well, then they had to release them because they weren't crazy. It's something that the medical field didn't understand. And it's so interesting how man does that. They isolate, they capture, they kill, and then ask questions later. And you'd think after all this time of humanity that, see, that's where you can tell where there's empathy in a nation and where there's no empathy in a nation. Even though they brag about how much they're empathy, or they brag about God, save America, God bless America. You think God's going to bless a country or a nation that is going out causing all these wars, going out killing and moving people from land to land? Is that really what your God is doing? So this is why I was saying around this time, this end time, we've either got to get within ourselves, get in the neutral zone and figure this out. Figure out that this world they're playing the people, they're dividing the people, they're changing their sex, they're doing everything that God, to their creation, because the people don't understand their bodies. And that's another thing I want to say real quick is I have others in the medical field, I should say, through my family, they're like married to certain people. But it's so interesting, and I from my doctors and stuff like that, how these people, even the nurses, how they do not know about the body. They only know what they're told about the body. They can't go off a life experience like me. If I like me figuring out, going into spring, my allergies, I don't need to run to a doctor because I know it's just going to go away, work its way through. When I go into autumn, it does the same thing because of the environment. Instead of, or, getting a cold or something like that, I take care of myself. I eat right, and, take the stuff that's good for me. I don't need to run to get a pill or medication or, stuff like that. And we are all programmed to just quickly run, or a cut on our finger. We don't even allow our body to go through its process. Like I was saying about any type of illness or whatever, we have to be. You can't get a vaccine for something that you don't have. So when they put that into you, they're injecting the live virus into you. So in other words, you have to get it to, so your body can fight it off. That's the thing about immunity, our immune system, our antibodies, right? As soon as we get exposed to it naturally, right, through the air or wherever around us or through people, but to have it put into you live in a live form, and then next thing you know, all these people are like, "Oh, I've come down with it. I don't know how. I just got the shot. I should have been protected and didn't. Of course, they're getting this. Well, you must have had it before this, or it's quite interesting. If we can even look at the word inject fluenza, enya, injected enya. But to keep people from, even our family and friends that are in the medical field, from actually realizing that, you don't need to run and get this, because just wait it out. Trust in God, trust in the system. If you don't have it, don't put it in you, because once you put it in you, it's in you. You can't get it out. So, but no one wants to tell you that, because everything is created by man is fear. And again, this is where probably God's watching, wanting to know who's going to let their body work it out and get with God and have God help heal you, or who's going to run and wait in line and have a cotton swab that goes right into your pituitary, your dragon, right? Your milk and honey, with something that's probably on the edge of that tip. You've got to really think about that too. What is on the edge of that thing that they're shoving, a 6-inch swab, and then a 6-inch mass. So you got the 66, and then the person itself is a 6. So if people, so I think, and I don't mean to be mean, but people just don't want to know. They want other people to control their lives, even though they say they don't. It's just like, oh, that's the doctors. That's what they get paid for, I don't need to think about that. Or, it's always somebody else's job, or I don't need to know that. That's just too much information. But it's not too much information. It's basic information. If we can just, take it in. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it, right? Anyway, so what do you think about that Moses thing that I've it was coming through my mind about how Moses, so it's kind of like saying, it's so interesting because I just had this visual in my mind right now. So the Y for the right brain, the Y for the dragon, the arm of God, and then you got the X chromosome, so the YYX. I bet you that's what it is all about. How people are either right brain or left brain. They don't even look at their dragon brain, their light system. They're either right or left. My gosh, no wonder it has a big division in humanity. I mean, at the end for the divide. And that's sad. So I think it's very important that I get the word out to where pull your right and left brain together, pull your thinking together, look at the world and see how they're so far apart, and don't follow it. I think Christ says, be in the world, but don't be of the world. It's kind of like saying, don't be a byproduct of the world. Have a great day.